Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Josh Sommers Show. Very excited to launch this video podcast. We're going to be talking about politics, business, and entertainment. So thanks for joining us. Every week, we're going to have a guest. And we also want to say thank you to our co-sponsor, MidHudsonNews.com. Our guest this week is Mike Martucci, the publisher of MidHudsonNews.com. So my very first guest for my video podcast is my good friend, Mike Martucci.
Josh, it's awesome to be here. This is going to be cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, so you're the new publisher of MidHudsonNews.com. What attracted you to get in that business?
Well, what a journey, right? I mean, people ask me what attracted you to this, and you know, I'm a native here of Orange County, and spent my career in the yellow school bus business, and flipped a switch and went from school buses to the state senate, as you well know.
Yes.
And now the publisher of Mid-Hudson News. So I'm sort of on my my third take right here in the community. But listen, it's a cool business. I'm learning it. I'm certainly not a journalist myself, but learning the business. It's cool.
You are writing editorials, though.
I did cut loose our first editorial. I think it's desperately needed in our area.
Yeah.
We haven't had a strong editorial voice here at home in a really long time. So I've gotten tremendous feedback since it was released.
So you have a really great American dream story. You bought your first school bus at how old?
So I bought my first school bus when I was 22, totally by accident. I ended up in the school bus business, but because I knew nothing about a school bus other than I rode on one when I was in school, and I ended up in the school bus business. Bought my first school bus, started driving it myself back in 2007, and just as soon as I gathered up enough money to buy a second school bus, I did that, and my grandma, who was retired, came to work for me. And I say work loosely because I didn't pay her a nickel, right? Like any awesome grandma would be. She volunteered to help and was able to build the company from that very first school bus to one of the 50 largest privately held school bus companies in the entire country.
And how old were you once you got to that certain size?
So when I sold the business, I was 35 years old, and I never expected ever that I would be a former business owner at 35. And fate sort of took me there. And when I was, I sort of had this nice, neat opportunity in my life to examine where I wanted to go next. And I always had an interest in public service, always wanted to serve my community in public office. And I figured, go big and go home, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't run for dog catcher. I didn't run for town council. I didn't run for school board. I ran for state senate.
That's a wild story. I mean, as far as your age and your drive and ambition. So when you ran for state senate, you were going against an opponent that was, much better funded. If you look at filings, you funded a lot of that campaign, if not all of it, on your own. And what was that experience like, going after, a major candidate that was better funded than you?
Well, look, what's neat is, I was one of the very few who got to serve a district whose voter enrollment was different than my own. I'm a Republican. I served as a Republican in the state Senate. The district had a plurality of Democrats. It was a district that in 2020, Joe Biden won, not Donald Trump. So what it meant was that when people went in the voting booth, they were voting Joe Biden, Mike Martucci. Hard to do in such a divisive political national environment. And we were really able to push forward with a local message about what we needed here locally in the state Senate, what sort of voice and values we wanted our chair in that Senate to represent. And that was what the campaign was all about. So for me, less about money, less about funding, and more about keying into the important messaging. And you were part of that team that did that, which was really important. And I think it taught me an important lesson, which was about, part of politics is about funding and part of it's about money. It costs you millions of dollars to run for Congress. It costs you millions of dollars to run for state Senate, certainly hundreds of thousands of dollars at the very least. And for us, it wasn't about amassing a bigger war chest. It was about having the right message.
And what did you find the key message was when you ran?
Well, for me in 2020, key message was about public safety. The year prior, in 2019, there were significant changes made to New York's criminal justice laws, particularly bail reform, which became the lightning rod issue in my campaign. We were also right in the middle of the throes of COVID, and we were one of the only states in the country to continue prolonged lockdowns. We had big organizations to take things right here that are happening in our county, like Legoland. Doors were shuttered in places like that. Other venues, restaurants that had seating capacity requirements, other parts of the country were wide open. So we also had a huge push from the business community to say, look, there was a time for all these restrictions during the pandemic, but there was a time to unwind it. And New York was slow unwinding that, which I think cost tons and tons of jobs in this state and costs hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more.
So when you ran for office, and this is, a bit of a personal question, you got bounced around pretty hard.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
they really came after you. What was that like? What was it like for your family? What was it like for you when you're running for office? And there was this information out there that maybe you thought was fair or not fair. What was that like?
Well, Josh, it's funny because as somebody who is new to politics, I didn't know what to expect, right? I decided I'm going to run for office. I guess part of it was being a little naive to the process. I had some pretty good veterans like you and others on the team who prepared me, but you sort of don't realize what it's all about until your kids are eating their breakfast cereal in the morning and watching a TV commercial bashing dad, right? That's when things really get real for you, right?
Yeah,
And I would tell you that, I sort of never expected statewide attention on a race like this. I sort of thought it was more of a hometown race, a community race, a race that was going to impact a couple of counties. But in fact, it became one of the hottest races in the entire state. And in 2020 was one of only 2 seats that flipped from blue to red. So it really ended up becoming sort of like the flagship campaign statewide. I don't think I really understood that when I got into the race, but you know how it goes. When you're in the front seat of the roller coaster, you better put your hands in the air and scream and enjoy the ride, because by that point I was on it.
Now, your opponent, Jen Metzger, she's now county executive of Ulster County. There's a lot of buzz and excitement of a lot of the things she's doing. So do you keep in touch? Do you have some type of relationship with her?
So, you know what? I have not talked to the former senator, though I know that, looking back today, I can tell you we certainly have very different policy positions on issues. But I think that she certainly has a heart that's in the place of public service. And I think that she's going to do well in Ulster County. She's got certainly a strong constituency there, a strong following, a lot of community support. And I wish her the best, because the residents of Ulster County deserve good representation.
So when you're in Albany, you must have wild stories, with some of the behind the scenes stuff or things that you stood for that may have rattled some people. Any top story you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh, Josh. So look at, having come completely from the outside and sort of getting thrown into a political environment, it's you get a PhD in politics in like 60 days, right? Because you got to figure it out. It's a sink or swim environment there for sure. And, as I think back to my time in Albany, it was cool. I got to work on some good stuff. I got to see some stuff that was not so good firsthand, get a front row view. But, I think back and I look, and funny, one of the things that I'm best known for in my time in Albany was introducing a bill that renames the now Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, restores its name to the Tappan Zee Bridge. And it was sort of something that myself and a colleague of mine who's now in Congress, Mike Lawler, who represents the 17th district just south of here, the Orange County area in Rockland. He represents Rockland, a piece of Westchester, and part of Dutchess. This was an idea that we came up with, and it was something that when the bill was introduced, just picked up national attention.
Right. And what was it like when Governor Cuomo was exiting? I mean, that's a very rare instance where you're in a state senate, it's national news. And any behind the scenes or any experience that you had, maybe what your colleagues were experiencing, some of the chatter. It was an interesting time for sure.
It was a really interesting time to be on the inside in Albany. And you're absolutely right, Josh. I mean, so obviously the political makeup for your viewers who don't know, in Albany, Democrats hold super majorities in the Assembly and the Senate. So those governing bodies are largely controlled by Democrats. There was no secret where Republican minority members stood on the former governor.
Sure.
We were publicly calling for investigations on the nursing home scandal and others for months and months leading up to the governor's resignation. But you're right. On the inside, where things really got interesting was when members of the governor's own party began to publicly come out and say it's time for him to step aside, he should resign. Really created a very interesting internal dynamic. Hard to really put your finger on exactly what it meant. But I think the biggest takeaway here, and the thing that sort of is interesting to study, I'm sure you from a PR standpoint is very interesting to study, when you look at Governor Cuomo, 8 months prior, he was on a national stage every day doing the daily COVID briefings. You'd see him on every major news channel from coast to coast in this country. There was chatter about him running for president.
Sure.
And within an 8-month period, having gone from that position to having resigned his seat in disgrace amid several different scandals, it was crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, talk about a twist of fate, right?
He was, he was very calming during COVID. He had those big lectures with PowerPoints but many people, thought he was doing a great job, and certainly it was a big turn of events.
It was crazy. Like I said, when you talk about a 180-degree shift in just such a short period of time, it was unbelievable.
All right, so let's talk about MidHudsonNews.com, your publisher.
Let's do it.
So, what did your vision and for Mid Hudson News is certainly filling a void for news in the area. Where do you see growing that business and growing that outlet?
Well, so I'll start with this. The founder of Mid-Hudson News and the longtime publisher, our publisher today, Hank Gross, is a legend in the news business in this area, in the Mid-Hudson region. He's been around for 50 years doing what he does. About the last 25, MidHudsonNews.com. And Hank has really single-handedly kept local journalism alive, as you've seen more and more of the regional publications either consolidate under national umbrellas or altogether disappear. Journalism's a tough business.
Sure.
Really tough. Newsrooms are running leaner than they've ever run. Where did my interest come in? Well, I think about why I ran for public office in the first place, and it was about being able to be a voice for our communities. It was about being able to keep people informed and educated on things that were happening, and it was also about making sure the government was accountable. And now I feel like that same service can take place on the outside. What I learned about my time in the Senate is you can do it from the seat in the Senate, but you can also do it from the outside. So in some ways, the mission has really remained the same. And I'm going to tell you what I know from the hundreds of thousands of people, unique users that click on our site every single month, every single week, and visit and read our content. They value this. So
Sure.
I want to make sure that we can keep that going for 25 more years.
And one of the things that you recently added is a whole business section that's much more elaborate than it was.
Absolutely. I think back to when I was in business here in this county in the school bus business. We used to have robust business journals, all sorts of resources where businesses would connect with each other, would be able to find out what was happening, who was getting promoted, what sort of new initiatives, divisions were being launched. And that too, unfortunately, has eroded over time. So I look forward to a section of our publication being dedicated as a business journal so that our business community has a place to go to share good news, to talk about what's happening, because there's so much opportunity right here in the Mid-Hudson region. I think it's important we harness it and put it all in one place.
So this show is a little, entertainment driven. And one of the things we want to do with you is play trivia.
Uh-oh.
And so I think the questions I think there's one that's kind of easy, but I have some challenging ones. Are you up for this?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
I'm in.
The question's on the big board. Question number 1. I think you're going to get this one. What is the outdoor arts center that has sculptures in Orange County?
See, I know this.
That's
one.
an easy one.
This is an easy one. It was not in my district because I only represented the western part of the county, but that's Storm King. That's over in Cornwall.
All right, that was an easy one.
That's an easy one. That's a layup.
All right, let's see. Bill Murray's occupation in the movie Groundhog Day. Be careful on this one.
Bill Murray's occupation.
You've seen Groundhog Day.
I've seen Groundhog Day. He was the greenskeeper, right? He was the guy that
No, you're thinking of Caddyshack.
Oh no.
So Groundhog Day is where he keeps looping every day. It's the same day.
Oh, I don't have this, Josh. I'm in trouble.
You didn't
Can
see
I phone
it?
a friend or no?
What's that?
Can I phone a friend or no?
We haven't set that up yet, but I think we will.
What was his job?
He was a meteorologist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in town for the groundhog, telling the story about what the groundhog sees and if it's going to be an extended winter. Anyway, everyone should see that. It's a great movie. So fill in the blank. The is the slowest moving animal on Earth. So just so everyone knows, Mike did not see these questions in advance. There's no funny business
The
here.
slowest moving animal, a snail?
That's pretty.
It's an animal, right?
It's a sloth. Sloth.
A
Is
snail's faster than a sloth? Maybe.
We'll have to check on that. We have that from a legit source, right? Oh, so
Well, you never said mammal. You said animal.
I'm not sure if a snail is an animal.
Well, I get the point, right?
You get the point. You get the point.
All that matters is I get the point.
You get the point.
Okay, fair
All
enough.
right. I hope you get this one.
Okay, let's try.
Here we go. Who ran for president of the U.S. with the campaign slogan, "A chicken in every pot and a car in every garage"?
Ooh, history. So I wish I could call Assemblyman Carl Brabenec because he is the political historian, the presidential political historian of the entire region.
Okay.
Whenever I have a question, read it to me again. Let me think.
Okay. Who ran for president of the U.S. with the campaign slogan, "A chicken in every pot and a car in every garage"?
Chicken in every pot, car in every garage. So I'm like narrowing it down to a decade or a time period.
He was before FDR.
Okay, good clue. Was it Hoover?
Yes,
It was.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
Nice job.
I
Nice
like
job.
it. I like it. All right, cool.
Yeah, that very, very good.
Yeah.
So it's great to see you. Just so everyone knows, Mike's wife Erin and I grew up together. We went to high school together, so there's a good family connection. And Bill's father-in-law is Focus Media's chief financial officer. So you married into a good family.
Yeah, the guy that watches the money here, right?
Yeah.
Is he tough on you sometimes? Or
Well, he'll sometimes come up to me. He said, "Did you charge this on the Amex over the weekend?" He's kind of like Mad Max and Wolf of Wall Street.
can't get a nickel past him, can you?
I can't. He keeps score.
Excellent. Well, so Josh, I'm excited about this show. This is going to be fun.
Thank you for partnering with us. This is really great.
We look forward to it. And like I said, we want to bring in some additional content, and I think this is going to be a really nice compliment for sure. And I'm going to be tuning in. I know you're going to have some good guests and some good content here.
Mike Martucci, publisher of MidHudsonNews.com. Mike, thanks so much for coming in.
Excellent. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks for checking us out today. It's very cool for me to have this video podcast. I was a radio personality. That career started at 14 years old. So it was very cool to be on the air at such a young age. So doing this show kind of gets me back in the game, and I've learned so much in the PR and marketing business. We hope to have some substantive conversations on politics and business, and also even some entertainment. Keep it light and fun, and even play some games with our guests. You can find us online at The Josh Sommers Show on Facebook and YouTube, and you also can find an archive at our website, joshsommers.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.